welcome to Fridays Are for Families. You may notice that we have our different format here again, and so we're just excited to invite you into something new and different, as we referenced last week. Last week we talked about our theological concept, and this week we're doing an interview. So welcome to our new way of doing Fridays Are for Families.
And really the heart behind us doing these interviews is we kind of wanted to move from like theoretical, talking about like the theory behind discipleship and what it should look like, to actually more practical implication and how people actually do this in their homes. And we also wanted to show you that not everyone does it the same way. And so our hope is over the course of this season, you'll see many, many different styles of discipleship, and also a lot of people who will probably admit, I think, that discipleship isn't always perfect, that sometimes we struggle, sometimes we fail, but we also hope that you glean really good ideas from the different ways that people do discipleship in their homes, and we're excited to highlight different Pathway staff for you as well. So today we have Sarah Hart with us. Welcome, Sarah. And just to kind of kick off, would you tell us a little bit about your role here at Pathway and also about your family?
Sure. I work here at Pathway on staff with Pastor Jason. I'm one of the two assistants that he has in the worship department. And so there's a lot going on behind the scenes that you may not see or know about before Sunday morning hits. So that's what we tend to work on together. As far as my family, I am married to my husband, Stephen, for 16 years now. And we have 3 girls, 13, 9, and 3. So we've got 3 different stages of life going on in our house right now. That's what we do.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So we know that family discipleship, sometimes you do things on purpose.
Sure.
And then sometimes something happened, you're like, oh, that worked. And you're kind of surprised by it, but you're like, yeah, let's keep doing that. So one of our first questions is just like, hey, what do you do that's like on purpose? And maybe what are some other things that you've kind of like fallen into or discovered along the way?
Sure. One of the things that's intentional that we do that I think it sounds like the easy answer, but may not be, is we are intentional about our time here at church. There are plenty of things that are vying for our kids' attention and for our time. And so we are making it intentional that we will be with our community of Pathway, learning and growing together. It may look different, like my kids, we have 3 services here on the Chippewa campus, so my kids might be at Thursday one week and 10:45 on Sunday the next week. It's not always consistent what time, but it is consistent that we try to make it here as much as we can. And my middle daughter, Mia, during her baptism testimony even alluded to that. She said, I just try to get here as often as I can. And hearing her say that was important to her was really just kind of a confirmation that we're doing that with them and they're seeing that fruit in their lives.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Nice.
Yeah.
As far as what we've fallen into, car conversations, whether it's to or from an event or something that we're going to, you have that time, and sometimes it's very easy for them to, my oldest is a bookworm, so sometimes it's easy for her to just be reading a book that whole time. But being intentional about that time together, we know that we will have that time. We don't always have other time in our day, but we know that we will have that time on our way to soccer or on our way to church or anywhere. So what did you talk about at church today? What happened in your soccer practice today? What happened at school today? And we can turn those things into even deeper discussions just from talking about your day.
I would say, like, it's interesting you say you fell into that, because there's still an intentionality behind it,
Sure.
right? Of recognizing, like, this is an opportunity, right? It could go one of 2 ways. Like,
Right.
You could use your drive as a time for, like, you to tap out, them
Right,
to tap out.
yes.
And so, like, you've discovered the opportunity and then are taking advantage of it.
Yeah.
So I think that's super valuable. And I think it's, like, something all of us can learn from, too, is, like,
Sure.
those opportunities are there
Yes.
if you see them as such. So.
And you can even read the room, so to speak, when you're in the car with them. And sometimes they need to tap out. Sometimes they need that peace and quiet. So you don't have to, every time you get in the car, immediately start drilling with questions or immediately turn it to a lesson. Yeah. But just taking the time as it becomes available to you.
I also have found, though, that like kids are often more talkative in the car because you're not face to face, you know, and I don't think they see that as like, oh, we're sitting down and having a conversation, or mom is like gleaning information from me right now. Like, it's kind of like a great undercover time as a parent to like understand their hearts and what's going on in their lives. And so I love that you brought that up, because I think that's a really cool.
But like, don't tell them I'm doing it, right?
Absolutely. That's yes. Nobody show Sarah's kids this video, please. Yeah, that's good. You have like 3 different ages of
Yes.
in stages.
Stages of life.
Yes. How do you hit those different stages and disciple 3 kids like where they are currently at? Because that could feel challenging, I would imagine.
Sure, it does sometimes. And one thing I really like about the younger ones is they are gleaning more than we give them credit for sometimes. So even if I'm having a conversation that is more at a teenage level with my older one, you'll be surprised sometimes how like my middle one will come along and be like, hold on a minute, what did you just say? Or adding to the conversation something that I wouldn't have necessarily expected from that age. But letting them hear it is okay. As far as it's age appropriate content that you want them to be hearing, I mean, letting them come alongside and glean whatever is available to them on their level is fine. But also we do, with my toddler, we sing songs because there is a lot of theology in our songs, even though it is not necessarily like memorizing a verse, which we do in church, and that's why we love for them to be here as well. There's a lot of theology in our songs. And so getting that into them at that developmental language level has an impact. I remember the songs that my mom sang to me when I was going to sleep at night at her age. And so having seen that impact for myself, I do that with them because I know that's, those little words will carry with them.
Yeah. That's good. I like that.
And also, just a note on that. Don't think that just because I'm a trained musician that's like, of course, the thing that I would do.
Right.
And don't box your own self out of it if you're not one, because your voice is safe to your kids. So don't think
that's good.
Right? Don't think that just because like, oh, well, I don't know how to sing, or I don't think I can sing very well. Your kids are used to your voice, whatever it sounds like, and it's safe to them. So don't be afraid to sing with your kids.
It's true. One of my favorite verses is like the Bible doesn't call us to sound good. It just says
Yes.
make a joyful
That's right.
noise. It calls it a noise. It doesn't say it has to sound good.
Yes,
it just
there's
says
no
make
specification.
a joyful
Oh,
noise.
that's
Yep.
right.
Yeah. So make joyful noises
That's
with your
right,
kids.
with your kids. And teach them to sing along as well, because they should be learning to worship together. And one way that we worship is singing.
I like that you say that. We sing a hymn every night together, and I'm thinking our music sounds a lot different than the music in your home. But for similar reasons, I love the theology in old hymns,
Yes.
and that's good.
Yep.
Yeah. So Sarah, you mentioned like, even in Mia's testimony that she referenced like coming to church and that being like, she tries to get here as much as she can. And even like they're kind of bringing things up that you don't almost anticipate, like they're catching more than you maybe see at first. When we think about family discipleship, like in your home, is it always that receptive? Like, are your kids always just like so engaged to it? They're catching everything, or what does that kind of look like?
No,
Like, the
the
good, the
answer is
bad,
no.
Yeah.
I mean, in the same way that any of us, sometimes we wake up and we don't feel like doing the thing that we know we should do. Our kids are like that too.
Yeah.
Our kids are always, in varying stages of moods or things that have happened during the day. So no, they're definitely not always receptive. But then there will also be times where you're not really thinking about what's going on, or you're just going through the motions of cooking a meal or something like that, and they'll say something out of nowhere that you're like, hold on a minute, where did that even come from? And we have to go down the rabbit trail of what's the thought trail of how we got to that, and unpack it at a time that I wasn't really thinking about doing a discipleship moment. So again, it's taking the opportunities that are available.
Yeah.
You said you're married to Stephen 16 years. That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Do you guys have unique roles when it comes to discipling your kids, or have you found throughout the years that sometimes somebody's more available than others to step in? I mean, what does that look like with discipling with a spouse?
Sure. I think we have the same goal. I don't know that I would separate roles necessarily, because our goal is to shepherd our kids in their faith. And we share that, both kind of equal responsibility. However, because we are different personalities and our kids are different personalities, naturally there are some conversations that I have more easily with one or the other, and same for him. I don't know that we plan out exactly like, you're going to talk to them about this and you're going to talk to them about this, but we just, again, taking opportunities as they are available, not to harp on that too much. But because our personalities match up differently with our kids, we just kind of, we trust each other. We trust each other to have those conversations. And because we both feel the equal weight of that responsibility, I think it just comes down to us trusting one another to have those conversations and taking the opportunities when they come.
That's good.
That is good. I mean, I think it's okay to harp on that one thing just over and over, because I feel like that's the point of family discipleship, is like, you've mentioned it a number of times, and I think that reveals like your mind and your eyes and your ears are like all like geared toward looking for some of those opportunities. Is that something that like, did you fall into that, or was that like an intentional decision like you and Stephen made together of like, you know, even before having kids, were you talking about these things, or like because it seems like, and you know, I feel like this is pretty accurate, but it seems like family discipleship is important
Sure.
to both of you, and it's
Yes.
something that you're like continuing to engage in and keep open for opportunities and stuff. So is that something you fell into, or is it something that you had decided ahead of time, like this is going to be a value, this is going to be a priority, and let's figure out how to do that, but like it is?
Sure. I would say if you have been around my husband for almost any length of time, you will hear him use the word intentional. That's something that's very important to him across the board.
Yeah.
The way he creates community with people is by doing intentional things. So I'm sure that for him, that was just a very easy branch to make over to parenting. I don't know that we sat down, especially ahead of having kids, and decided what we were going to do exactly. A lot of times it's what we've learned from other people too. We had, both of us grew up in Christian homes. We had parents who discipled us. So we got to see in real time what that looks like. I have also had some really great opportunities to have mentors here. Our women's Bible study, I love that we mix ages of women, because I have learned so much from the older women in that community. Even at MOPS, I remember specifically a story. My oldest daughter used to be obsessed with princesses. I know if you know her now, you would not believe it. But she used to be when she was, in that 2, 3, 4 age bracket. And I remember one night she prayed for one of the princesses. And I was telling the story the next day at MOPS, and I said, I just wanted to tell her, like, no, that's pretend. Don't pray for that. And this just well-seasoned, wise mom said, let her pray for whatever she wants. It doesn't matter. Like, you can work out during the day what's pretend and what's not. But let her pray for whatever's on her mind, whatever is on her heart, because if she learns that concept now, to bring to the Lord whatever is on her heart, she will keep doing that when she's 15 and 28 and 52 and so on. Let her learn that now. And so things like that I have gleaned from other parents have definitely informed how we do things too.
Yeah, that's good.
Sarah, as kind of a way to wrap up our time together, what encouragement would you give to families who are watching or listening? And I mean, we probably have families of all different ages and stages,
Yes.
which is so cool because you represent a lot of those. What encouragement would you give them about discipleship?
I would just say, first of all, don't think that because any of us are sitting here as staff members that we have it all put together. We are all learning. We're learning from one another. We're learning from outside resources. I think the best thing you can do is make an intentional choice to learn and to look for opportunities, and pray for that. Pray for those opportunities to be not only made available, but that you will see them, that you will have the discernment in the moment to see and seize that moment. So I would say definitely pray for your kids. The Lord is listening. He is listening both to you and to them. And your heart is tender for them. I can tell that because you're listening to this video. And the Lord is also tender for them. And so you can trust Him when you are praying, that they are in good hands with Him. They are in better care with Him than even with you. So we can trust Him with that.
Awesome. Thank you. Just Pathway families, one thing Sarah talked about a lot was the importance of community and raising kids in godly community and seeking out community and being part of the church, but you're involved in a lot at the church, and your kids find community in different areas as well. And so one thing I would love to encourage you is that if you haven't found community yet, to reach out to one of us. You know where to find us in the building, I think. So come and find us and ask us, what would it look like to find deeper community rather than just coming in and out of the building on a Sunday morning. And so we would love to talk to you more about that. If you want to look for resources or things that we have coming up in the life of our family ministry here at the church, you can go to family@pathway.com and find things there. And we can't wait to see you back for our next episode of Fridays Are for Families. Thanks for joining us.